All right, it's Hank back again with the third installment here of the full install guide for full immersion. And where we had left off last time was we had gotten the performance add-on textures moved into the main Fallout 4 directory because it takes a long time to move those textures because they are such big files. So now we're going to take 7-zip. We're going to go into data again. This time I'm going to go into textures. Well, I'm going to go into data again. Let's check our guide first, because that's the smart thing to do always. Okay. So download and install all the parts in order, 1, 2, and then 3. Now I'm doing manual install. So what I'm going to be doing now is extracting part 1 into my data folder. So Control C to copy that. Control V to give it a place to go. And so it begins. Now, again, very large file, so it's going to take some time. And we're going to let that run and move on with the next piece and continue to download the mods that we need to flesh out. Of course, we're not installing the mods, we're just downloading the ones that we need. And I've skipped over visible weapons. So the next thing we need is the tactical flashlights, pre-war binoculars, and then we'll have a discussion about weapons here in a minute. I think tactical flashlights are very cool. I mean, in real life, not very practical to have a light, you know, coming right off the side of your head because, well, that would be the point that I would aim for to take your head off, but it is a video game. But they look cool, they work well, they're a lot of fun. Great alternative to a Pip-Boy. Having that radial light, more of a directional light, which I think is a lot cooler. Plus, you can change the colors on it, which is very useful when you're identifying your friends. Like you give one of your followers, you know, a purple headlight, and you can tell friend from foe. Pre-war binoculars, I love these. Use them all the time. I couldn't understand why that would not be part of the game without, I mean, the optics really make agony playable. You know, makes better locational damage playable, because if your enemies get the drop on you, well, that's your ass. So a good set of optics is what keeps you alive. So very cool stuff, and a lot of things that you can do with it. All right, let's have a discussion about weapons here. The AKM, undoubtedly great, undoubtedly a great weapon. Well balanced, well controlled, useful, beautiful, a lot of different attachments and options. But the reason that I'm not going to include this is because not because we got a whole lot of noise going on outside, but because the handmade rifle in the Nuka World edition is good enough, effective enough, and similar enough to basically kind of create the right kind of AK or LMG for you. Or for me, anyway. The better locational damage patches are something I'm always looking for because it's a lot easier than having to patch them myself. So these are the weapons I will be adding. I will definitely be adding Wasteland Melody's Chinese Assault Rifle and the Service Rifle. Grab the Damn Mag actually went into Birate Beck's new merged fixes, which is awesome. So, AKM, I love you, but with the Nuka World expansion, it's just not as unique, and it's going to take up a slot that I would prefer to have for a different type of weapon, quite frankly. So, the Chinese Assault Rifle, it's a must-have in my opinion. It was one of my favorites, of course, in Fallout 3. It's very functional. It makes a lot of sense when enemy raiders carry them. They can really light you up with them. It's, again, to me, in my opinion, it's very immersive. Because if you think about, a war, a post-apocalyptic war, the Chinese assault rifle would be one of those types of things that would endure and be around. And there's a lot of different configurations that you can set up to make it effective in a lot of different ways. And I've used it in a ton of different variants. And I've never been disappointed. It's not OP or anything. It's right on. It's spot on. Yeah. So take a look at the forearm here. I did find the regulator one time. The regulator, I believe, is in the graveyard where you can find the tape. One of the total hack tapes, I think, that gives you control over turrets. And there's also like a cowboy hat in there called the regulator, which is very cool. And you see this many posts. But just an awesome weapon. Okay. So we'll go ahead and download that. The standalone. And then the service rifle. This has so many different ways that it can be configured and used. I absolutely love it. It can be configured in 5.56. It can be, in this particular image, this has got the carbine, the collapsible carbine, but it's extended, the stock. But you could also have it fully retracted, which gives you better hip fire. Right now it appears to have the short carbine barrel on it. It's got what looks to be the military reflex sight on the top. It looks like it's got the commando receiver because it's got the flat sight rail across the top instead of this handle. There's a couple of different ways that the magazines can be configured. You've got like a small standard mag, like a M16 mag. You've got one of the ones that's like extended a little bit. You've got a fast mag, and then you've got a dual mag, like this one here. Coupled magazines. So there's just a lot of different ways that it can be configured. This really here is the base model. And then I really like the way that you can put the scope on top of it. It's very cool. It's kind of like an ACOG there. Not exactly like an ACOG, but similar. You can be chambered for 308. You can chamber it, so this particular one has an infantry stock on it and a rifleman barrel, but there's also a marksman barrel. The marksman receiver right here is chambered for 5.56, but there's another one that's chambered for 308. There's suppressors, flash hider, compensator. You've also got laser sight and flashlight attachments. Now, one thing that you should always bear in mind when you're putting a lot of different attachments on your weapons is the weight. Because the greater the weight of the weapon, the longer it takes to lift the weapon up and use it in combat. So we can have these discussions, I guess, because we're waiting for these textures to unpack. But definitely going to download this mod. Okay, this is, we'll take the 2018. The version 1.1. Take a look at the file contents real quick here. There. So those are two must-haves in my stable of weapons so far. Okay, yet another staple for me is going to be the hunting shotgun, the Deadpool hunting shotgun. And I think I was just speaking about this in part 2 because it is probably, again, one of my favorite mods. Because what makes more sense in a post-apocalyptic world than the good old 12-gauge shotgun? Just so many different beautiful textures and ways to set it up. Yeah. You've got almost kind of like the sawed-off variant. Then you've got the larger shrouded barrel. This one's actually got the, doesn't have the small pump on it, so it's got probably a little less ammo capacity, but more ammo capacity here than the sawed-off variant. You can pay attention, especially in better locational damage, with the different types of receivers that you use, because shotguns can be very, very devastating even with light receivers because of the ranges that you're using, and you always want to pay attention to weight, because every shell, everything that you carry in survival, better locational damage, agony, combination, every bit of weight counts. And sometimes having that light receiver, you get that shotgun up faster from just a kind of a lower holding position. Works very, very well. So we're going to take that definitely. And we only need it in 2K. I have loaded it in 4K before, but you just don't need, for things like weapons, I don't think you need, if you're looking for performance, especially like I do, because you're loading so many extra assets into the game for combat purposes, I don't think you really need that level of detail for your weapons. So that's the third gun that absolutely has to be in my stable. Now, I've been pleased with the Bullpup Bozar, as I'm often pleased with a lot of Deadpool Hitman's mods, because the attention to detail is there. And it looks like it was just redone. Well, it was done on back in 2018, so, but the dirty edits are fixed, so we're going to go ahead and grab that Bozar. Let's take a look at the images. I think a bullpup is a very cool weapon. I've only had a limited amount of time to test that weapon in previous in my previous game. But what's important to me is to be able to either have pre-existing patches for better locational damage, or at least for me to have a general idea of how I'm going to want to patch it with my better locational damage weapons patcher. Because you have to patch each receiver and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, so we got a few of these things downloading here. And we're 59% extracted with our textures. I'm not really interested. I did load the 9mm in at one time, and I did enjoy it, but I don't want it to add any additional calibers. There's only one caliber that I would consider adding to the game, and that would be the 40mm grenade, because in better locational damage, agony, I need a bigger toolbox of explosives. And I haven't quite learned how to do the correct edits in the creation kit and Fallout 4 edit to make, number one, a 50 caliber rifle that's effective, and a remote explosives. I want to add to the three that are in the remote explosives package. You have the IED, you have the pulse charge, you have the C4, and you have the remote nuke. And the remote nuke is awesome, because when you're playing better locational damage agony, again, weight is so critical. Being able to build a nuke, a remote nuke in the field, is going to be far better than having to lug around a fat man for a launcher. You just cannot carry that much weight for a launcher that you can rarely use. But if you have something like that China Lake, or that that single shot 40mm grenade launcher with the breach action that comes in the Grenade Expansion Pack 2, it would be absolutely indispensable. So I really have to figure out how to patch that for better locational damage, so it's consistent with better explosives. I will be taking the Macmillan CS5 Urban Sniper Rifle. I really like that. It's just a beautiful gun. It works really, really well. It's got a lot of different attachments. It's got a lot of different colors and skins, rather, for it. So I'm going to go ahead and get that in here. And I'm going to go with the all-in-one pack. Now, everybody knows I love the Mac 11. I spoke about that in an earlier video. So I'm going to take the STG-60 because it's one of the few assault rifles that's not in the handmade variety that is chambered for 7.62 millimeter. Which is very important when you're trying to drop things like super mutants. Plus, it's a beautiful gun, smooth action, a lot of different ways to configure the weapon. You can get it as small as like a single-handed submachine gun, your folded stock, or more of a ACOG style battle rifle, or sort of a semi-assault style rifle. It's accurate and got smooth actions. Don't really need the Nazi textures, quite frankly. So we'll just go ahead and get the main file. Take a look at some of the posts here. I do think worn and clean versions would be cool for this mod. Some simple textures for it. And definitely going to pick up the Mac 11. And we're going to need the recoil patch. I mean, it's just triple degree badass. I've thoroughly enjoyed using this weapon on many different occasions. Just got that Pulp Fiction feel. Take a look at some of the images here. Maybe mine will be over here. Need to make sure that I send it over to him. So he's got some images that I've captured for the gun. I mean, nothing is more fun than just tearing into somebody with a fully automatic Mac 11. Okay, and we definitely need the patch for that, the recoil patch. Now I'll be worrying about the better locational damage patches in a little bit later. And the animation patches a little bit later. Just the regular way that this Mac 11 is set up, without this patch, you can't hit the broadside of a barn with it. You can't hit a target that's literally across the room or down the hall. So this actually makes it just about right. Well, not just about right, but perfect. Yeah. So I believe I might still have the animations saved back. No, I don't. So let's grab these animations real quick. And we'll load those in a little bit later. Now the Glock 17 is fun, but instead of using the Glock 17, I'm going to go with the P220 because I don't really need multiple handguns. It is very cool. There is no doubt about that. But you have to be selective in what you're adding. I have used it before and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. There is no doubt about that. But I don't really need the extended barrels that come on it, or the drum style magazine, you know, or kind of the wacky variants that really that you can turn this gun into. More about hyper realism. Let's see where we are with this. Getting close. So this BL better locational damage patch muzzle fixes beta is so important because the noise profile on almost all the guns are screwed up. So even if you're not using better locational damage, I think you should pick this patch up. Because you'll find sometimes you're in a building using a suppressor and your enemies can hear you. You know, if they're at close range, it makes sense. But if you're downstairs and they're upstairs, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So it actually, you know, if you're using a muzzle brake, it'll go from loud to very loud. So it does a lot of things that's quite valuable. But I'm not going to download these just yet because I want to get my weapons in first, because we're trying to follow Buyrate Beck's guide as closely as possible. So we are going to get that Sig Sauer P220 because this is the handgun that I would prefer, and I do prefer. It's got a lot of different ways that it can be modified. One sexy pistol. Handles a lot of different situations in a lot of different ways very effectively. So I've even got a couple of images loaded over here. So this is one where I'm wandering around in a building sometime downtown. And here's just another one locked and loaded. So I always like to try and present. All right, let's see where we are. We're getting very close now. Let's just go ahead and get that downloaded. Okay, outstanding. Now, other types of weapons that I like to use, we're definitely going to take the RU-556. This is not a weapon that I've had an opportunity to test. But I've heard good things, and I am going to test it. I was kind of waiting to achieve, to basically earn the gun in the game by finding it, by performing the special mission that it takes to actually get the gun. But I may just spawn it in on the next playthrough. On the next playthrough, I guess we can have a little bit of a discussion about what type of character I'll play, but I think I'm going to go with a Nara, which is going to be a female sharpshooter because, well, hey, sex sells, and everybody likes to see a female character, and I've been playing as Hank for a while, so I'll bring a Nara out, dust her off, bring her out of the mothballs, because she's triple degree badass. I've always enjoyed playing as Inara. Everybody likes to see the hot chick. So this is in 4K, and this is in 2K. So I think I'm happy to have it in 2K. All right. So we've got the SIG and the RU556, and let's see. All right, our textures have finished loading on that part 1. So let's check our data file. Okay, outstanding. And now it's time to load in the third, or part 2 rather. So we're just going to go to part 2, extract, into the data, and we shall wait. Okay, and as that's unpacking, we're going to go ahead and just continue on with the weapons. And we'll get back to the better locational damage repository, patch repository a little bit later. We are going to use the AUGA1. I've only had a limited amount of time to test this weapon, but I was pleased with it overall. Considering that I lean towards sniper rifles and being a marksman, a long-range marksman, I haven't really relied on assault rifles very much. But I'm more than willing to go down that road. So let's just go ahead and pick that up. All right, optional. Confirm the replacement of files for damage modifiers. It's always important to take a look at the README and the change logs when you see things like that. I'm not seeing any reason to be overly concerned. Doesn't have any dependencies or anything. I don't really see any issue or any need for these damage modifiers, because I'm going to be patching over anyway with better locational damage. Take a look at the forums. And I will be showing you guys how to create a bash patch so the guns actually do spawn in the game. I have been down that road before. Okay, clearly this is going to take some time. All right, now there's a few other weapons that I can't live without. And one of those is going to be the Russian Recon Pack. Because it's going to give me that semi-automatic SVU 308 bullpup. Sniper rifle, which is very cool. It's also got some very cool scopes. I rarely use the pistol, the Grok, but it's nice to have. But I've used this weapon to great effect. And having an additional pistol in the game is also quite fun. So I really like it with the PSO scope. The EOD sight I didn't find to be very effective or very good for the ranges that's required. Yeah, I'm looking forward to bringing back Inara. Yeah, because sex sells, definitely. All right. Another set of weapons that I really can't live without is the well, I've already got the Bozar, I've already got the AUG A1. We've got the service rifle, the Chinese assault rifle, the Mac 11, the hunting shotgun, the Macmillan CS5 sniper rifle, the RU 556, the SVU, and the MP443, which is the Grok, the P220, which is a handgun, the AUG A1, which is a bullpup. We've got the Bozar, which is another bullpup. And let's go ahead and take the DKS 501. Because this is iconic, and it is probably the only sniper rifle that I'm going to be satisfied with that's going to have 50 caliber. So we're going to take the base file. And I'm going to use everything except for visible weapons. So I'm going to take the combat scopes file. And I'm going to take the custom sounds file. And of course, push come to shove, I can patch those weapons for better locational damage on my own. And this is, I think, one of my favorites, of course, from Fallout 3. Used it quite a bit. And now it has, just a ton of different variants. So the Victory Rifle, I remember that very specifically from the Fallout 3 game, and I really, really enjoyed that gun. The Reservist Rifle, actually, I think, was the one I used a lot more in Fallout 3. So it's a beautiful weapon with a lot of different skins. So we'll definitely be taking that. Let's check out the forum here. Balancing. All right. most of what I see here is just load order issues. Okay. Now, unfortunately, there is something that I really would like to have. This right here. But I do not have it patched for better locational damage. And it would be really, really nice. I just don't know how to do that yet. Explosives are a little bit more, it's a little bit more tricky. But I will learn how to do that, and I will create a patch at some point. I also like the idea of the grenade expansion pack 2, this M79 grenade launcher. Did I just see a standalone version for it? Because this I could patch. Now I don't need the ammo swapping. This is something that I could possibly work with, because this would be the only thing that I would have to patch. Yeah, this is definitely something to look at. And then all I have to do is really patch the damage on it. I think I can do that. So let's grab it. See what the bugs are. All right, nothing too major. And I think I can patch this for better locational damage. Make sure it doesn't have any special requirements. And I create my own leveled lists. So this is what I've been begging for, praying for, hoping for. Because it's that lightweight weapon that's added to my toolkit. That's an explosive. Because a rocket launcher, you just can't carry it around. It's too heavy. I mean, you could have a companion carry it for, you know, special types of things like taking out power armor, but by and large, it doesn't have a lot of utility. Whereas the grenade launcher, yeah, it definitely has a lot of utility. Okay. I just have to make sure that I patch that for better locational damage and bring it up to snuff with the explosives. And that's enough weapons. I mean, that's quite an addition there to what's standard to the game. Once you start getting past this, and all the different ways that your enemies can load different types of weapons and things in the field, once you create your bash patch, you're getting into dangerous territory, which I do not recommend. Okay. We are the Minutemen. We'll take that. We need the main file, and then we'll have to rename some stuff. Textures, of course, take a long time. Kind of getting the jump on it. Raider overhaul, of course. Restored content, BIS patch. Download the main file. And then the restored content. Full file, I believe. And the original armor texture update, optional file. So here's the full file. And we're also going to need the original Raider armor texture, optional file. Okay. And then the VIS tag, I believe, the patch. Download the FOMod main file and install it. Now, these are big files too, so they're going to take quite a bit of time to download. Super Mutant Redo, I like that a lot. So we need to download the second main file. And then the Brotherhood Recon, I like those texture sets. So we'll take the main file. See where we are as the textures are still unpacking. take that. So we need the main file and optional files. Okay, you should just need the main file here. So download the second main file and second optional file and install them in order. So there's our second main file. And our second optional file. And then the synth overhaul. So we'll need the main file, the update file, and the optional file. Main file, update file, and optional file. So I'll take it in 2K. In a BA2, that's the way I like it. Nice and neat. And then the update file. And the optional file. Okay. And then for the Church of Adam overhaul, we're going to need the main file and all the optional files. And then the update files, we're going to need them manually. Okay. Main files, all the optional files. And then we'll download these for manual. Okay. We've got plenty queued up here, so got one incomplete. So it was the Beaux-Arts, so we got to go back and see if we can grab one of those. and cancel the failed download here. Oh, it's downloading, so we'll be alright. Leave it alone. That's why I don't like to get too far ahead of myself. And we're just going to let this ride. Clearly that's going to take some time. We've still got textures unpacking. So we'll leave it at that for now. And I will bring it back with part 4. It's been Hank. We'll catch you guys on part 4 and on the flip side.